joined by Orange Grove head coach and athletic director Mark Del Percio. Coach, welcome to the show. Glad to have you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with it.
Definitely, Coach. Again, welcome to the show. And this is our first show of two today. Later today, we're going to have some talking heads on here at 7 o'clock. The guys and I are going to break down week 3. But right now, Coach Del Percio is joining us. Coach, how has your day been and how has your week been there at Orange Grove?
It's been very exciting with the start of the team. There's a lot of excitement in the community. There's a lot of excitement in the school. I think that one of the great things about the game of football is that it is a fall sport. So it allows the beginning of the school. Most years it's a fall sport, let me say that. But it allows the school year to get off with a jump start. There's a lot of excitement in the building, a lot of school pride, and with a successful football team. And that's always neat to be around. But certainly with our community and our players and coaches, we're very excited to finally hit the field after we know a very different last 6 months.
Definitely. And for you guys, I know yesterday we were at Ingleside covering a volleyball game. That was their first day back on campus. What's the situation like for you guys at Orange Grove? Are y'all back on campus yet or still doing virtual?
We actually returned to campus yesterday, and it was a choice, in person or virtual. We've got about 60% of our students back on campus. Most of our student athletes, a majority of our student athletes did return. I tell them there's a reason why, and I was a math teacher for 28 years. So I know there's a reason why education is meant to be done in the school buildings and not on a computer. And I think people began to see that over the last 6 months. But several of our guys were very excited to be back. And I know it's been a stress for our teachers trying to balance the virtual and the in-person. But they're doing a great job.
Definitely. Coach, let's go back and talk about, let's flip the switch back to the springtime. You're an athletic director, you're in charge of a whole athletic program, and just seeing how everything unfolded now that we can kind of look back and be like, there were so many levels of uncertainty from a coach and from a media perspective on which way were we going to go. Just seeing everything unfold on that weekend of spring break where we saw games getting postponed and we saw things get canceled. Eventually, ultimately, ended up to the season getting canceled ultimately. But what was that like from an AD standpoint, just watching your spring sports unfold like that?
It was very tough because, you didn't want to believe that it may happen. But when the cancellations began, and of course, when UIL canceled the basketball tournament, and then, the NCAA canceling the tournament. And then when the Ivy League began to cancel spring seasons, and there's some pretty smart dudes in the Ivy League, and you're going, you know what, this thing may be bigger than what we all realize. But to see the seniors have that taken away from them in the spring was very tough. We had a softball program that was set up for an awful lot of success this year, a baseball program that's built and was only getting better. And to have that taken away was very tough. And the only consolation here is you could say, well, we weren't the only ones. This happened across the country. It affected everybody. But as I told our student athletes, we can't sit here as adults and say, in most instances, in most cases, we could say, hey, we've been through this scenario we've been through before. And so, we can help you through this. This was new to all of us. None of us had ever been through something like this before. So it was very tough. Most heartbroken for our student athletes, though, without a doubt.
For me personally, when the NBA got put on pause that Wednesday night, and I remember it specifically because we were covering a softball game that Wednesday, and once the game was over, I was putting everything away, and then I got a text saying that the NBA got postponed, and it's like, okay, maybe this thing is, like you mentioned, a lot serious than we all think. For me personally, from a sports standpoint, that was the first major domino to fall. Did you see it that way as well once the NBA got put on pause?
I did. I mean, you're talking about $1 billion industry and things get put on pause, and, they're not going to halt $1 billion industry without good reason. But to me, as I said, I think the Ivy League and the NCAA canceling tournaments, that's when things began to really set in like, hey, this may be for real. There was some hope there in the spring for a little while where we thought, okay, well, maybe we'll be able to come back and, have revised seasons and, shortened seasons and everything else. And I think, we all had hope for that, but in the end, no one can argue UIL did the right thing. And as sad as it was to see, it needed to be done.
Right. And then when we get into the summer months, I live in Edinburgh, so we had some pretty strict guidelines to where we were in-home shelter and where we had to stay home, and then we were required to wear our masks and all those different things. You guys usually have strength and conditioning over the summers. You guys have workouts. How did you all handle the workouts? Obviously, you guys must have done a lot of virtual work.
We did, yes, sir. We were actually, and that's the one thing I really want to give credit to our staff and our players in the off season. They did an outstanding job with the Google Classroom. We met when we went down in March and things unfolded. I was able to have a staff meeting, an emergency staff meeting on a Saturday. Brought my coaches in and we talked about how we were going to handle this thing, because you kind of knew at that point that this is indefinite. We don't know when this is going to end. But at this point, we're not going to see our athletes. And our job as coaches is to take our athletes to a level they can't get to by themselves. And without us being there, we really needed to provide some guidance. And so setting up Google Classrooms, at-home workouts, coaching staff did an outstanding job of handling all that. We met with our coach, we met with our players, we did Zoom meetings. But we were able to come back when UI opened things back up in June. We were able to come back in June, on June 8th, and it had been 3 months. So the guys were very excited about returning. Of course, seeing each other, you're trying to social distance, but you got that challenge. They want to see each other. They haven't seen each other for 3 months. And it was very tough, but it was exciting. But you needed to make sure you followed all the safety protocols. And I felt that we did a really good job with that during the summer months.
With some of the Valley coaches that I've spoken with here, in the early stages of the pandemic back in April and in May, I asked the question that when does that red flag come up for you as far as the season being delayed or potentially being canceled? Is for me, it was in July. I felt that if we were in July and we were still still stuck in square one, that the season would start late, or maybe we may not have a season at all. Was there a red flag? I mean, obviously it's good that you guys are playing now, but for you, was there ever a red flag saying, okay, by this date, if we don't have anything going, there's cause for concern?
We got excited in June, at the beginning of June, when we were able to come back, start workouts. But then in July, when UIL sent out the recommendation, we shut things down during that July 4th and the week that followed. There was some concern that the numbers were starting to really, peak in Texas. There was concern that, hey, they were canceling around the country. They were postponing around the country, that this may be cause for concern. And it's very tough. I mean, it's tough for us as coaches, but you think about the mind of a 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old athlete who is, they're living for this. And now all of a sudden it's taken away, it's given back, it's taken away, it's given back. It became really a struggle, and that's a lot to deal with. I mean, it really is. So, I know that I can speak on behalf of my staff. There was certainly a legitimate concern in July, excitement in June when we came back, a lot of concerns in July. April and May, we really worked hard to get them ready. I said, okay, we'll have to work online. Here's your at-home workouts. We're going to do our Zoom meetings. We'll do everything else we need to do. But after that, it really was, it was tough. I mean, it was such a struggle, because at one point we also got shut down by the county at the end of July. So we had to abide by that order. So, hey, we're working out, we're gaining momentum, we got steam going, and the county says, hey, numbers are up, we need to shut you guys down. So, I mean, that was another tough, part in this whole process.
Right. And that's what's been hamstringing the Valley when it comes to sports, is that, we have multiple counties down here, and some teams are in Hidalgo, some teams are in Cameron that are in the same district. So that's been one major reason on why the Valley really hasn't gotten back to being able to play football. Coach, you guys are able to get back on the practice field once you guys set that date. I'm sure as coaches, you said, okay, now we have X date to work with. We can prepare for that. What was that like, being back on that first day, being back in practice and getting things back to normal?
I think there was relief, there was excitement, but I think across the board, it was just so much gratitude and appreciation for what we could do. We're talking about a community that's so passionate about our athletic program, our football program, and so supportive, but yet you go 12 miles down the road in another community, Alice, that wasn't able to return. And so, anytime that, hey, maybe, it's a little bit warm outside, or you got to wear this mask while you're playing, because we had the guys wearing the mask on their helmets while we were practicing. I would tell them every day, think about, those schools out there that aren't even practicing or have canceled a fall sports season. Justin Fields would love to be in your shoes right now playing football. So there was a lot more appreciation and gratitude. I think our guys really understood, hey, we can never take any day for granted, especially, during a pandemic.
Definitely. Coach, and another thing, that stands out is your offense. We'll get to that in just a little bit. We're joined by Coach Mark Del Percio, head coach, athletic director from Orange Grove. You guys get back on the field, and for me, we did get to see Three Rivers in their scrimmage a couple weeks ago against Runge, and then a week later they opened up their season against Fall City, and you know pretty well Fall City is pretty darn good squad. My question going into the season was, where were these teams going to be at physically? Where were they going to be at mentally? And for me, watching athletes, I always figure that guys got to get reps. They got to get reps. There is such a thing as football shape, basketball shape. Just how much of that was a concern for you guys jumping into the regular season and then not having as many reps, ideally, than that you guys would like?
It was a large concern. It really was. As much as we did with our Google Classroom, our Zoom meetings, our at-home workouts, it still isn't, as you said, Kevin, it's still not that football shape. It's still not going out there and practicing and banging around in pads against each other. So there's a concern. But again, the saving grace there is the fact that everybody else is going through the same thing. We weren't unique to that situation. We had a situation that was happening with everybody. So, to us at Orange Grove, we did an awful lot of work in the off season. I think that's paying its dividends now. But many other schools did as well. I think just the way that we responded to all this and how hard we practice, I really credit our staff and our players for that.
You've already seen 2 games being played. I know there was talks about possibly there being no fans in the stands these past couple of months, and now we've seen some schools go 50% capacity. Some have gone a little less, a little more, depending on the size of the stadium. But if you're able to take a chance and look around the stadium during a game, what stood out to you the most? That's like, okay, that's different, or this is different.
I think definitely the smaller crowd, not having the band on both sides of the field. This is our first away game against London, so we won't have we'll experience the no band on our side, but not having both bands there, where it's just as loud. Usually it's a louder atmosphere, more people. Obviously the mask. I remember seeing a picture, throughout all this of the Spanish flu back in the early 1900s, and they're at a football game and they're all wearing these masks. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, that's, that could be us in the fall. And sure enough, that's what it's become, and for good reason. But I think probably just not having the, we can't be like the NBA and the professional leagues and pump in noise here. We can't bring in the virtual fans. We can't do all that. So, it's a little bit different in that aspect.
Definitely. And y'all's game got moved to Toloso Midway for that reason. Can you talk about that decision ultimately that you guys made? And obviously you and London agreed to the terms.
Yeah, Coach Marino, it was really, he's been first class the whole way, and we spoke about it. And I think he wanted to be able to provide an atmosphere where we could bring more fans in. It was going to be limited with the number of fans that could attend. They hadn't had a home game yet, so we're talking about a smaller stadium. We also have some some television and newspaper crews coming in. And I think the feeling was, hey, let's go more to a neutral site where we can increase the fan attendance, because it is a game that's wanting to be watched, not just by our community and his community, but by, fans in South Texas. Hey, here's a great football game this Friday night. Let's provide them an opportunity to see a very good football game, and having it to Tolosa Midway. And I thank Coach Miller. He's been extremely helpful throughout this process as well. But that's going to allow an opportunity for more fans to come in.
Right. And speaking of which, you guys got a big time game coming up this Friday night against London. And just hearing what you said there, and just about what we're going to talk about, is for me that's a little bit of sense of relief, like you mentioned, and because there's a little sense of normalcy. How does that feel, just to be able to say there's a big game this Friday night? Like, we're slowly getting back to normal.
Right. It's very exciting. I mean, I think we're the first couple of weeks here. We've gone through, Lord knows we've had a number of meetings, on our behalf, because we have hosted games about proper protocol and how do we handle situations and how do we social distance, and, how are we going to handle ticketing. We've gone to an online ticketing system. So we've done all sorts of things to put us there where we're going to be able to, play football games. Now it's nice to go into a situation where, hey, we have a big football game coming up this Friday night. It's just Friday Night Lights. I mean, this is this is exciting. Now we can as an AD, I can begin to focus and say, hey, I'm excited about the game. I mean, I'm always excited about the game, but I don't have that worry about ticketing and social distance. It's a neutral site. That becomes somebody else's headache. We're pumped up and ready to go.
Definitely. Cutter Stewart, your sophomore quarterback, he started as a freshman and he's already thrown for 700 yards. How good is this kid, and how has he developed so far?
Well, I mean, I've told people, college friends of mine and recruits. I mean, I've been doing this for 33 years, and he's one of the best that I've coached, and I've sent a number of kids to the next level, playing college football. I think his freshman year was there was a learning curve. But he was 14 years old and he's playing varsity football, and he was playing against some quality teams. So there's going to be things to learn, and there's going to be a process that we're going to have to follow. And Cutter, stuck to that. He was very true. I mean, he works his tail off. He's got a great football mind. I think the best thing about Cutter is if you understand the game of football and those that coach it, he has that it factor. He has it, and that's required to play the position of quarterback. And I think, I may be biased. I think quarterback's the most important position in all sports. And he does have that it factor. He just has it, and that's one of the things that we've seen from Cutter in terms of his growth, not just physically, but also mentally, and really somebody that's been a true team leader for us.
You guys are averaging just south of 60 points per game. You guys put up 56 against Sinton, 62 against Odom. Me over here saying these guys need reps. These guys need workouts. It seemed like you guys just picked up the ball and rolled. What's been so good about you guys' offense being able to pick up where you left off?
Well, I think it starts up front with our offensive line. I mean, anytime you're able to, establish, and win at the line of scrimmage, it's because you've got guys up front that are getting the job for you. We've had tremendous balance, not just with our passing game, but also with our run game. And that's been key to say that, hey, we're not going to be a one-dimensional team. We're a team that can run and throw the football. So for our guys, it really has been a collective effort as far as not just the guys up front, but taking pride in what we do, playing hard every single play offensively, downfield blocking with our receivers, finishing blocks on the offensive line. That's putting together the complete package, and that's how you're able to put some points up on the board and get some yards going. That, and having some guys that have been committed to this program for the last several years and have bought in. So,
and for a young quarterback like Cutter, who's just a sophomore, I was just doing a little research on your team. He's got plenty of weapons. Jake Marsh, Joseph De Los Santos, Trevor Garcia, and then Ethan Acosta in the backfield. That's got to help a young quarterback to have that many weapons.
It really does. That's what I mean about that balance. I mean, he's also somebody that can run the football very well. Cutter can, but again, having the guys up front, and we bring some experience back up front from last year. Having those guys, pass protect like they've done, and creating holes for our running back and our quarterback in the run game has really been huge for us, and that's something that I take my hat off to really the entire coaching staff and what they've done with these guys. And again, it comes down to the players believing in what we're doing and buying in, and they certainly have done that.
Ty Leonard, the quarterback for Corpus Christi London, he too is off to a good start. So it's really going to be a battle of two really good quarterbacks Friday night. With what you can share, how difficult is this offense going to be to stop for you guys?
Well, I mean, he's a returning district MVP, and he's somebody that, that also is a complete package, can run the ball, can throw the ball. He's got some exceptional weapons, but, they've also got size up front. They've got running backs that run very hard. So, we're going to have to make sure that, we're bringing our A game defensively. That's a team that you cannot be out of alignment. You've got to make sure that that you're in correct alignment. You've got to make sure that you're playing at our very best, because if not, they're darn good offensively, and that's a team that you don't want to you don't want to let them get by you, because they have the players, they have the athletes to do that.
One thing that stood out, Coach, is that defensively, it seems like you guys tightened things down defensively. 44 week 1, down to 21 points just allowed in week 2. Starting to see the defense there clamping down just a little bit. I'm sure that's good to see, especially when your offense is scoring that many points.
It's been a big focus for us in the offseason. We knew we needed to play better defense. I give credit to Coach Lopez and the defensive staff. We've done a great job with those guys. We continue to get better, not just from week 1 to week 2, but from the preseason to week 1. So we've been very pleased about what we've been doing, but we also know that there's more work to be done. But in the end, I mean, these guys defensively, and we really have played such emotional football and getting guys to the ball and pursuing. And that's, in the end, when you get through it all, I mean, you have to be able to play solid team defense to win football games. And these guys have been doing that.
So what are going to be some keys to Friday night's game against London?
Scoring more points than them. That's number one key. We got to score more points. We've got to be able to control the quarterback. I mean, as I said, he's such a dual threat, and he's a guy that can hurt you either way. Going out and playing with emotion. This football game, we cannot go out flat. We've got to play with emotion. We've got to take care of the ball. That can be the ultimate equalizer. And we've got to play smart football. One of the things I wasn't very happy with in our last game against Odom was we just had too many penalties, too many foolish things happen. I've always told our guys, I think penalties that occur before or after the whistle blows, that's a sign of poor coaching. And we had some penalties occurring before and after the whistle blow. And, that's not acceptable. That's something that we need to fix. The pass interference, the holding, those things are going to happen in the course of a game, and some of it may be judgment calls. You can agree or disagree, but we've got to play smart. We've got to play fast.
Definitely. Coach, we're going to move on and talk a little bit about the NFL. It does come back tomorrow night, and that's got to feel good that the NFL is back, and it's going to start with the Texans and the Chiefs. So what are your thoughts on the NFL coming back?
Well, I'm always excited about football. I missed. It was great to see on Labor Day night having a football game on. I think the NFL is now begun to share Sundays with God. So it's good to see the NFL is coming back on Sundays. It seems like, as you spoke with earlier, alluded to earlier, it gives you that sense of normalcy. Hey, we're playing football on Sundays now. We're playing Friday nights. We're getting back to Saturdays with college. And we're playing on Sundays, which is very exciting. So having the NFL kickoff tomorrow night will be special. We have a JV game at home, and then go home and watch some of that. It's going to be fun to watch. I'm curious to see how they've done it, because they had no preseason games.
Right.
They're stepping into a season. Where they're very cautious with what they do anyway at the NFL level. Their practices, they're not going out there flying around hitting the crap out of each other. They're very cautious as it is. So they usually have a preseason game or two with their starters to clean it up. They don't have that. So I'm curious to see how that factors into things going into week 1.
Yeah, that's my wonder is what's the quality of play going to be like? I'm expecting a couple of interceptions, couple of miscues.
Right.
But we'll see. And now you mentioned you don't play fantasy football, but you do have some interesting ties to the NFL.
I do, yes, sir. I don't play. Actually, I played 1 year of fantasy football, and that year my first pick was Randall Cunningham with the Philadelphia Eagles. So that'll tell you how long ago it was. But my future son-in-law is a receiver at with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Chris Godwin is engaged to my daughter. He actually is someone that I coached in high school as well. So no surprise in terms of his success and what he's done. So I do have a rooting interest in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which have become just the team to watch this year with Tom Brady and Gronk. I mean, it's really fun because that's going to be neat to follow. But I'm excited because they'll be getting more national exposure, which I mean, I always knew Chris was an outstanding football player, but a chance for other people to see it, which I think maybe he showed that last year as well, being one of the leading receivers in the NFL.
Yeah,
So,
him, Mike Evans, and then they just added Leonard Fournette. So you talk
right,
about a team that's just starting to be stacked.
right.
Now you are an Eagles fan, though.
I
At heart.
am. Yeah. I hate to admit that here in Texas that sometimes I don't know. It might be worse to admit you're a Cowboys fan in Philadelphia than an Eagles fan in Texas, because Texas is a little more split with Houston and Dallas. So it's not as bad, but yes, sir. My roots, I was born in Philadelphia. So I'm actually a Philadelphia Eagles fan and have been my entire life. So I know as a Cowboys fan that really has to eat away at you, but
Oh, it's cringy.
you know,
Well, what are you expecting out of the Eagles this year? I know they got Jalen Hurts there. I know they had drafted a couple of wide receivers, and it just seems like the Eagles kind of get hot at the right time these last couple of years, and they wound up going on some kind of run into the playoffs. But what are you looking forward to in your Eagles?
I mean, Carson Wentz is such an exceptional football player, and he's so. I mean, he's a pleasure to watch, and he takes on that blue collar Philadelphia mentality. I think the key to them is just him staying healthy. Even in the Super Bowl run, I know it's been a while for Cowboy fans when I say Super Bowl, but in that Super Bowl run recently, the Eagles, he wasn't healthy. It was Nick Foles that came in. So, but having Jalen Hurts, I understand why they drafted Jalen Hurts because of the trouble they've had with Carson Wentz. But they're fun to watch, offensively and defensively. They put together some pieces there, I think, that are going to be much improved. And there's some worries with the offensive line and some of the injuries there, but they've done a nice job of figuring it out.
With quarterback being the topic of conversation, the NFC East has changed. You got Dwayne Haskins with the Redskins or the Washington football team, Dak Prescott with Cowboys, Carson Wentz in Philly, and then now you have
Jones. Jones.
Daniel
Jones.
Jones with the Giants. So just a couple of years ago, we were talking Eli Manning, Tony Romo, Alex Smith. Just how much has it changed at the quarterback position? It's like a new era.
It really is. It is. It's interesting to watch too because, with the quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, Deshaun Watson signs for, $160 million over 4 years.
Right.
It's always tough to believe that there's really not 32 elite quarterbacks in the NFL. There's only about 6 or 8, and then you get another level of quarterbacks, and then there's that bottom group that it's such a tough position to play. So, to have some quarterbacks of that quality in the NFC East in one division, it's going to be fun to watch. It really is be fun to watch. And I do like the fact that we get to see some of these divisional matchups early in the season. Well, I must admit, I don't see a whole lot of NFL because we spend our Sundays game planning. So I can't say that, but watching Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football, we have a chance to watch some football. And I think most, if not all, my staff also plays fantasy. So they fill me in on the point getters. So
yeah, definitely. I'm playing this year again too. So hopefully I can finally win it all. But were you happy for Andy Reid? Being that he was a longtime Eagles coach, or were you an Andy Reid fan while he was in Philly?
I was. Yes. Yeah, Kevin, I was. I was an Andy Reid fan. I mean, he was one of those guys. There's an old coach for the Philadelphia Eagles by the name of Dick Vermeil that went on to win a Super Bowl with the St. Louis Rams, now the LA Rams. And I think the feeling was the same. People were very happy to see Dick Vermeil win it all. Got to the Super Bowl as an Eagles coach, but lost. Andy Reid the same way, got to the Super Bowl, but lost it. So I think there was a sense of excitement for Andy Reid because he's one of the good guys in coaching. And certainly I'm not at the NFL level coaching, but I think based on what was being said after that Super Bowl win, you could tell that other coaches were genuinely happy for him. That he had won, that he had finally won it. So that's just a tribute to him and his work ethic.
Give us your Super Bowl prediction.
Super Bowl prediction? Oh, wow. Yeah. It's tough. It's hard to believe the Chiefs wouldn't be back in it, right? So, let's go with Chiefs Eagles. I got to go for the hometown team. I'm going to go Chiefs Eagles. So it might be although the game's being played in Tampa Bay this year, the Super Bowl is, it could be the first time ever that Tampa Bay hosts a team. The host city is part of the Super Bowl, but we'll go with Tampa Bay and Philadelphia in the championship game. So in the NFC championship game. Yeah.
That'd be something. Hopefully by then we can have fans, because imagine that a Super Bowl.
Right. Wow. I'm sure they'll do a great job pumping the crowd noise in and do everything else. The NFL does a great job with that stuff, so I'm sure they'll figure it out. And I think they do have a certain percentage, but not very high, that they're letting in the stadiums. Yeah,
I think so. One last question: are you a baseball fan, Coach?
I watch baseball as a coach, AD. Always going to watch all sports, but coach a little JV baseball back in the day. Why do you ask?
I'm a big baseball fan. For me,
okay.
It's baseball and then football. But
right.
I've always loved baseball. I'm a big Astros fan, so I was just wondering if
you're
a Phillies fan or anything.
Phillies fan, yes, sir. Yeah, Phillies fan. Yeah, I was at the parade in 2008 when they won it all. So I mean, that was a special year for the Phillies. And but I also I really enjoy watching the Astros. They're such a fun team to watch. I know they're missing some of the pieces that they've had in the years past, but they've been, they're a fun team to watch. But really, I enjoy baseball, but in the end, I was looking at it as really two seasons: the football season and the football off season. So there's some things that happen in the football off season, like baseball, basketball, everything else. Right. But I think that's the way most football coaches look at it.
So. Yeah, it's been a weird year. Just as a fan watching it, 60 games and. No fans at all, and then not being able to go to games, that's been hard on me, because I always go up to Minute Maid quite a few times a year, but it's definitely been different. But hey, there's baseball being played, high school football is in full steam, and then we have the NFL. We're on the eve of a new NFL season, so things are getting slowly back to normal. Coach, that wraps up our show. Thanks for taking the time to join us this week on our show.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's been a pleasure.
We're joined by Coach Mark Del Percio, head coach, athletic director of the Orange Grove. Coach, good luck this week against Corpus Christi, London, and hopefully we can have you back on the show again sometime soon.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thanks, Coach. We'll see you.